I'm Catherine Jarnigan, and I'll introduce our other board members in just a minute, but thank you for joining us today for our third and final summer mini-series. We're going to record this session, hopefully to make it available later. All the participants so far will be muted. Our panelists will be the ones showing their video today. But please, 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 if you have any questions or comments as we are going through, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll make sure that the questions get answered. I'm going to start off and go ahead and give just a short update about AIDN for anyone that might be joining us that is new to us. Again, I'm Catherine Jarnigan, one of the board members. There are 3 other lovely ladies that are on the board with me. We have Courtney Felton, Courtney Garza, and Crystal Butler. And so we have been working over the past year to 2 years, maybe closer to 2 years now, to kind of get this up and running, to create a network inside of Alabama for instructional designers and those in instructional technology that that do a lot of the same types of things. So we have completed the paperwork with the Secretary of State, yay! And we're getting some of the other final pieces of paperwork together. If you were with us last year for the fall forum, we're hopefully, possibly going to be doing a virtual fall forum coming up, so keep an eye out for information on that. And then next year we are hopefully going to be doing the election of officers next year, so keep an eye out for that as well. So we've been busy, and hopefully you have also been enjoying, if you were able to join us the last couple of weeks with our summer series. We've been busy just kind of putting things together to keep everybody networking and connected, even though a lot of us can't be together face to face. So let me go ahead and introduce our panelists. We have 4 panelists today. The first one is Tiffany Cantrell, and Tiffany has been the director of Faulkner Online since 2017. Prior to becoming the director, Tiffany was an online student success advisor. Most of her professional background has been in online retention and student success. Tiffany holds a master's degree in political science from Texas Tech University and is an assistant professor at Faulkner. Next is Yolany Lagos. She is originally from Honduras. She has a master's degree in learning systems design and technology from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. She is currently in her 3rd year in the Instructional Design and Development PhD program at the University of South Alabama. She is the lead graduate assistant at the Innovation and Learning Center, which is a unit that provides campus-wide professional development, LMS administration and support, course design consultations, and assistance with third-party tools that are used campus-wide. Her research interests are in the community of inquiry model, universal design for learning, and course design best practices. Along with these 2 ladies will be, if I can get this right, there we go, 2 gentlemen. The first is Tyler Weldon. He is the Canvas and Academic Technology Administrator with the Division of eLearning and Professional Studies at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. In his role, he provides technical support and training for UAB's academic and continuing education learning management systems. Tyler has expertise in LMS administration and support, course template development, LTI installation and development, web application development, and custom LMS data analytics. Tyler has a graduate certificate in instructional technology for distance education from Auburn University, and he is currently in the final stages of completing his PhD in adult education from Auburn University. And he is an expectant father. I'm going to throw that in there since we just learned that. So he and his wife are expecting a baby soon. All that busy work is about to get even busier. And our last panelist is Joe Zellner. He is a Pittsburgh native and a die-hard Steelers fan. Joe has worked at Samford University for the past 17 years, during which time he has had 83 different supervisors, 76 job titles, and bounced back and forth between academic affairs and business affairs approximately 93 times at last count. Throughout the years, he has been involved with teaching and learning with a healthy dose of technology. Joe thinks his current title is instructional designer, but don't quote him on that. He has found the past 3 months to be some of the most productive of his career at Samford, but misses his work as a freelance sound designer for several musical theater productions that have been canceled and postponed in recent months. So thank you very much to our panelists for joining us. Again, our topic today is training faculty to teach online remotely. Again, for any of the people joining us, if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat, and we will make sure that we get them answered. But to start it all off, let's have our panelists kind of talk about what training looked like for you guys, and how when COVID hit and when everything kind of went fully online, you know, what changed? How did it affect your institution, and what was the response to it? So, Tiffany, can you start us off on that? Would you like to share first?
Sure. Well, to start off with, pre-COVID, all of our new online instructors went through an online faculty orientation, and one of the modules of the orientation was for our LMS. So we had some training already ready. However, there were some gaps whenever you're looking at training on-ground faculty. Just putting them into the online orientation wasn't enough. We noticed there were some gaps in our orientation and some things that they needed, because some of the faculty were not online faculty. They weren't comfortable with technology. They weren't really comfortable even turning on the computer in a couple of cases. So instead of overviews and some help information, we needed to do like step-by-step instructions and get that posted for faculty really quickly. So that was how COVID changed our training process.
Okay, yeah, great. Yolany, do you want to step in and answer?
Sure. So for us at South, it's been a little bit different because we're in the middle of a transition from one LMS to another. And so we were in the middle of the transition, then pandemic hit, and it was really a real challenge. So pre-COVID, we had on-campus training and online training for different tools within the LMS or different parts of the LMS. And we had our Canvas orientation for faculty fully online at that point, but we were also hosting faculty orientation for Canvas on campus. So after COVID, everything went fully online. And we found also ourselves doing more sessions online, maybe twice, 3 times a week for different needs, you know, as things came along the way, proctoring needs or just LMS needs or best practices in terms of online teaching. So from a blended model into a fully online model that we are right now, and probably in the fall is going to look similar to that. So far, we are in the plans of reopening the university and, you know, how that is going to look for faculty. But for our unit, we are working fully online, all of us, and still continuing with training.
Okay, I'm interested to see, because you were talking about the faculty needs. How did you assess what those needs were, Yolany?
So we have, you know, we work directly with some departments, with the chairs of the departments, and depending on what they were expressing, right, that they needed. Again, it's similar with what Tiffany was mentioning, you know, some faculty needed more one-on-one because they were not teaching online, they weren't comfortable, you know, we have to walk them through that. And so we worked closely with the chairs of the departments. And then we also work with faculty requests directly to our department saying, hey, I really need a one-on-one consultation for this period of time, because I am not, I'm not comfortable with X or Y, and I really need some help on that. And so that's basically how we worked, department-based, one-on-one based, and then, some faculty who would reach out directly to us.
Okay. All right. Tyler, do you want to step in and tell us what was going on at UAB?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this as you guys were talking. I wouldn't say that our process was any different, I would say, before like post and pre-COVID. And so that was one thing that I was proud about for our office. And I'm just, I don't lead the training department, but I was just one of the people helping out, filled in. And so, so our office before COVID hit, we are already doing a lot of virtual group trainings. And we were also already doing one-on-one trainings. So in the fall, we actually adopted, so if you're a Microsoft campus, you might have this as well. We have Microsoft bookings, right? And so in the fall, we actually had all worked on making ourselves a booking page. And so what that is, we have it in our, all the instructional technologists have it in our email signature. You can click on that. You can go to the website. You can grab a time on my calendar. We kind of adopted it from what vendors were doing. And so we were kind of already used to this idea. So when you schedule a meeting, you can pick, do you want in person or virtual? But if you do virtual, when you get that email, it automatically schedules a Zoom link, and you get that Zoom link, right? And so we were actually doing a lot of, virtual trainings as it was. So when when we had to move online with COVID, that part wasn't a shift. Like, we knew how to do it because we already had all that set up. We then brought in Microsoft Teams and started using that as well as another part of our scheduling, just because we found that we were doing a lot of Zoom trainings, and it's really hard to train somebody on Zoom while using Zoom because you can't see all the features. So then we found that, okay, if you use Microsoft Teams, you can actually then pull up a Zoom training as well and show them Zoom. And so really, I wouldn't say that we did anything different, but the biggest challenge was the mass scale, right? So we went from probably one or two people kind of booked up during the day to our entire team. I mean, I went back and looked, like, I'm pretty sure our entire instructional technologies team, and then a lot of our instructional designers as well, were helping out. Like, our whole calendars were booked, just because people, and like I said, we kind of cleared our calendars and made that link available. And then our bosses made that available to all the associate deans and say, look, here's your link. You grab that link and you can schedule a time and we go. And so, we would just get an email and say, this person's ready. It would have notes. We see the notes are, we hop on the call and we start working through the process. And so I think that was something I was very thankful for, that the team that leads our training had already kind of had that set up.
Yeah, that definitely will make a difference, having that process already there. I'm glad you mentioned the mass scale of things, because I think that's probably one of the biggest factors with this, that made it difficult. I think a lot of places had training set in place, but when you take it from just a certain number of people and then all of a sudden it's the whole campus, it completely might change the way you do it or how you approach it. So I'm gonna let Joe answer this question. I think if he is on, I think I saw him come in. Yes. So Joe, do you want to talk about training at Samford and how COVID affected that?
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting. We've kind of come full circle at this point. We just transitioned from Moodle to Canvas a couple of years ago, and part of that transition is we do have technical support from Canvas, and we have a small instructional design staff of 3 people. Our focus is on the pedagogy, but we did find ourselves early on with Canvas doing an awful lot of Canvas training. We've been trying to wean our faculty from depending on us for Canvas training, over time. And most of the online faculty rather, have developed pretty good skills as far as Canvas goes. So we were able to pull away from Canvas training over the months, and we've been having in-person training sessions once every couple of weeks, but trying generally to focus on the pedagogy in a classroom setting. We have tried at times in the past to do some online training, but it's never really gained critical mass. It seems like people in general weren't very interested in virtual training sessions. So we've ended up doing all classroom training, at least over the last 2 or 3 years, I would say. And then came COVID. And all of a sudden, we had dozens, if not hundreds, of faculty members who were not comfortable teaching online, who barely, if even, knew how to post a syllabus in their course. So we very quickly ramped up our training efforts, and we were having 2 or 3 big classroom sessions a day when it became obvious that we were likely to not be on campus much longer. And we got a lot of people trained quickly, and then suddenly, okay, we're not on campus any longer. So we immediately shifted all of our training into an online environment. And I think it was highly successful. I'd forget the exact numbers, but definitely I'd say at least close to 100 different faculty members came to online trainings, many of them multiple times. We knew that the immediate need was going to be for basic Canvas proficiency for those people who had never really taught online before. So that was the focus of all of our training for at least the first 2 or 3 weeks, I would say. But during this time, the director of our faculty professional development program had an ongoing Qualtrics survey that was available to the faculty to ask what their training needs were. And it was interesting to see that once we got through those first couple of weeks, that there were a lot of people who wanted to learn online pedagogy on the fly. So we gradually shifted our training from the technical aspects of the learning management system back to the pedagogical aspects. And that's kind of where we are right now. We know we'll be doing some more technical training certainly over time, but I believe 95% of the faculty who taught this past term are now at least passingly comfortable with teaching online in terms of the technology. And so we're able to come full circle and start moving our training and support back to the pedagogy of it. They still call us for Canvas support, but not as much as they used to.
Yes, I think that's one of the battles sometimes is depending on how your setup is at your institution. If you have more of the instructional technologists that are separate from the instructional designers, it's a little easier to have that that separation. But sometimes if you are a smaller institution and you don't have that staff size to be able to do that, then you definitely get all kinds of calls. One thing that I am interested is that you said that you had, because Yolany talked about the needs assessment. Did what kind of need? You said you used a Qualtrics form, right? For Samford.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Tiffany and Tyler, how did you guys feel out your faculty for seeing exactly what the needs were? I know, Tyler, you mentioned that there was you read notes of what instructors needed, but that seemed like it was an immediate one-on-one session. did you guys find a way like a Qualtrics form or something to do a needs assessment for your faculty?
We just basically relied on the department chairs in a lot of ways, funneling information to us for what their faculty needed. Our instructional design staff is very small. There's 2 of us. And so we did not attempt to do everything. It was kind of an all hands on deck. We start with the departments. When we did in-person training, the departments did that, and we would go to it as needed. But just about every department had like a super user. And so they kind of fielded the questions. And then if there were faculty members that needed a little more hand-holding than what the department could do, they would bump that to us. So we didn't have a form. We didn't have anything like that. We just kind of filtered through the departments is what worked for us.
Yep, and I wasn't on the exact team that kind of filtered out that content, but I would kind of say in the same lines, you know, that was kind of we kind of based ours kind of on that, you know, what we were seeing as far as the training topics, right? But also too something, since we had been doing a lot of these trainings already, we were kind of aware of, you know, what it would take to, you know, move somebody online, as far as like the certain things that would, you know, kind of what we anticipated for success. And so we kind of based it on that aspect, and kind of shifted our training and our workshops towards that.
Okay. Joe mentioned that a lot of their training to begin with was more technical for the LMS. Did the rest of you find that to be like more of the request that you had was for more technical training and not necessarily like how much exact instructional design, course development type training were you able to have requests for, were you able to do, or did you kind of mix it in? I just curious. Yolany, do you want to go first?
I think that during, you know, the pandemic, March, like those beginning months, it was more like, we need to get this done. We need to know more of the technical part of it. How do we move online? How do I move my grades? How do I put my content here? How do I record my lectures? You know, working with Zoom, how do I do the breakout rooms? It was more on that part. However, now for the summer, we're kind of breaking it up both ways. We're bringing, you know, the theory and the background into our sessions, and then we have like a 25-minute going through steps and walking them through, you know, different technological aspects. But we're trying to mix it up, right? Not just talk about how do you create a module or a lesson, but then why do you need to, or why are the best practices for doing that, you know, as we move forward to the fall. So we're a lot of technicals at the beginning, and now it's more of a mixed, I would say.
Catherine, I wanted to interrupt with a question real quick, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, Crystal.
I was wondering, this is a question for everyone. Is everyone recording these help sessions that you're conducting for various faculty members so that they can be made available in the future?
Yes, we are. We have them in our website, the Innovation Learning Center. And so we have all of our Zoom sessions along with PowerPoints or other resources or Google Slides or all of the other materials that you know, we provide during the session.
We're recording them when we remember to hit the record button. That's our biggest limitation. And actually, we came up with kind of a hybrid recording approach for these sessions. One of the things that came back from the faculty needs assessment when we were asking about modality of training, a lot of the people asked for short videos that would explain the steps of particular processes, for instance. And what we ended up doing for our live training sessions, which we conducted them all using Canvas conferences / Big Blue Button, but we actually, in preparation for each of the topical workshops, we created a series of short videos that contained the bulk of the content that we were going to be covering during that session. And what we did was we were able to, within Canvas conferences, it has a great, if you haven't used it, it's got a great facility for sharing videos with an entire group of people simultaneously. So we would play one of the video clips, and then we'd pause for questions and discussion, and then move on to the next clip, and so on and so forth. And then all of those videos were also posted in our Canvas resources course for faculty within Canvas, so that people could go refer to them later, or people who weren't able to attend the session itself were able to view the material. Despite the fact that the faculty asked for those videos, I've been kind of disappointed in the amount of traffic they've actually gotten. I'm sure everybody thinks, yeah, I want videos and I'll find the time to go look at them, but the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak sometimes. But I still really like that approach, because for one thing, it makes it, excuse me, it makes it really easy to deliver the training sessions when a lot of the material that you're just going to lecture with to begin with is already there, and you can just, we can offer that same session 4 times in 1 week if we want to, and not have to reinvent the wheel each time. So it does take some of the effort out for us. And there are certain sessions that didn't lend themselves to that approach. So we did try to record the sessions when we remembered to click the button, and made them available in that same Canvas resources course. And we have an instructional design resources course as well, where some of the videos went.
Okay, Tyler or Tiffany, your approach?
So we actually, again, that's something we've done for a while, is record before COVID. So you kind of have 3 types of videos. We have videos on our website. So we redesigned our website last summer. And so everything we try to do, we try to run that traffic through our website based on it's where all of our guides and all of our support kind of runs through. And so we kind of have like a level approach on that. And so we're already working on making like little quick how-to guides for all of our quick little tips. And so those are on our website. But then also to all the extra webinars that we did, those were all recorded as well in the webinar format, and they were placed on our website based on that technology, right? So if you went to Canvas, you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to get all the Canvas extra workshops that we've already done. You went to Zoom, you're going to see all the Zoom guides plus all the workshops you already offered, right? You could sign up for a new one, but you could also watch the old one. And then also to re-record any of our training sessions, we record those as well, and we can send those to that participant if they want an extra copy. Like, we can send that to them. So we kind of have like a 3-level approach depending on the need.
Our approach was different than everyone else's, I guess mainly because we don't have an instructional design staff, and the training went through the departments. That what we have in an online orientation, there's some videos there, there's some step-by-step handouts, things like that, is what we did. But the departments, whenever they trained their people, did all of that training, we didn't record, we didn't post that unless the departments did it for their department. They may have, but whenever we did training sessions, it was more one-on-one, helping with individual needs instead of the bulk, us offering a session to everyone.
That something that Joe said made me think, did you guys find that one type of training worked better for your faculty than others? For example, I mean, I know a lot of everyone did face-to-face stuff before COVID hit, but synchronous sessions over Zoom, like webinars or the one-on-one, or was there any type of training that maybe got better response from faculty, or that just assisted more, since it sounds like there's a variety that was done in each of your institutions? So was there one maybe that just one format of training, I guess, that maybe worked better than another for all of you? We'll start with Yolany.
I think for us, because of the different needs that we've had and the relationships that we have with our faculty or department chairs, I would say that they have all worked. We definitely have a lot more traffic coming into our webinars. We're doing webinars on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and so we usually have 40, 50, depending on the topic. But I think I wouldn't say one worked better than the other. I would say, depending on all of the different needs that we had, we were trying to kind of go to who needs a one-on-one, or, who are the ones who are going to come to our webinars. Again, we've had a lot more attendance now that we've had in the past with our on-campus trainings. I think we've reached more people now that we are online than we've reached before, but I wouldn't say one worked better than the other, particularly for us.
Okay.
I would say one thing that I found interesting, I think we too have reached far more people with the online training than we did with the one-on-one or the face-to-face training sessions that we used to do. Now, part of that might just be based on the sudden need for a lot of training. But one thing I really like about it, it's actually a lot easier for us to do the training online. When we were in a classroom, we had limited seating, so we had to do individual registrations, for instance, so that the sessions didn't get overloaded and have too many people to fit in the room. But one nice thing about doing online sessions that was just sort of a happy accident is you can just say, we're going to have this session this day at noon, and here's the link, and if you want to come, show up. And it makes it a whole lot easier for everyone to not have to deal with the registration aspect of things. So online training gets my vote in terms of just being easier to do. And again, like I said earlier, being able to just play those videos. I mean, I guess you could do that in a face-to-face session as well, but that does take a lot of the work out of conducting each session for us.
Okay. Tyler, did you guys find one format over another that worked better for you guys?
So in the fall, we've always done in person, and there were some of our teaching tools is what we call the technology stuff. We had done those online, and our in-person ones are always super successful. So our training runs through the partnership with our Center for Teaching and Learning, and it's through kind of like a certificate program that you can go through. And so for one of those is the online teaching one. You can go through and you get a certificate, and you collect points, and then there's a big points party at the end with the provost, and you get a certificate. And a lot of our faculty go through all those, and so that's always been super successful. And so I really can't pick one or the other because they're both super successful. But I know, once COVID hit, and we had to move everything online, that became very successful, and I can't take the credit for that. That was our deputy director, Samira Lauzai, and Jared Watson, one of our instructional technologists, sort of led the charge on that. But our online stuff went really well, and that was really a collaboration of our whole office, not just the instructional technologists, because I know, we also have a lot of our team's instructional designers on here, and a lot of them also taught some of these online ones because we were already teaching them kind of in the fall, and we were always do kind of like a collaboration. And so it was really just kind of bringing those online and offering them at a quicker format, right? So during those first couple of weeks of transition, we were offering them like once in the morning and once in the afternoon on those sessions. And that was everything from how to do assignments, how to do quizzes, what's online proctoring, what's modules, how do you communicate effectively online. And so we kind of did an approach of, I felt like we kind of took all of our workshops and kind of put them down into like a new thing that we call teaching remotely is what we called it, the whole workshop series. And that was super successful. I think I just pulled the numbers. We had over 1,500 attendees through all those workshops in the spring.
Oh, wow.
And so for us, it was a big success. And we found that we ended up using those a lot. And so like, we tried to encourage people to go to the sessions first if they needed help, but then schedule a meeting with us, like a one-on-one afterwards, so that we could further explore what was going on. And we found that a lot of people, after watching or attending the webinars, it kind of actually solved a lot of their questions. And I always heard that a lot when I did one-on-ones. They're like, okay, I've already watched the webinar. I kind of got an idea. I just need your help. And that's where kind of like our training kind of transitioned to, like in April, was more of, okay, watch the webinars, almost like a blended approach or a hybrid approach, like watch webinars, but then hop on a call with me and let's answer those extra questions that you really didn't get answered in the webinar. And that seemed to be a lot helpful for us because, when they came on the call, like we had specific questions we knew, right, that we could go target. Because like, okay, I got the foundation, but I just don't understand this one little part. What can we do here? And that was very helpful.
I'm interested because it sounded like you said that there was a reward system in place for some of the faculty for attending the training. Did I hear that correctly?
So the regular CTL workshops that we already do, that system is already in place. That's on our website if you want to go look at it. But there is, I guess, so they do like a points party, and you get like a nice certificate that says like, I have a certificate in online teaching, and so it's that kind of already exists. And so people are already familiar with our workshops, right? So that's something faculty were already way familiar with our process. It just, I think again, what I said before, it was just how do you do that at a larger scale, right, in a quicker timeline is what our biggest challenge was.
Okay. I think that's one of the challenges, just even outside of COVID, is getting faculty motivated to come in and get the training. When you're, when you've got it and you're offering it, you have these resources. And so any kind of motivational factor that can also be thrown in there, I think is good too. So, Tiffany, you want to go now?
We did a survey of our faculty after the move to online, after the training was done towards the end of the semester, and to get their feedback on what was the most helpful for them. And we were actually pretty surprised at the results. The thing that the faculty responded to the most, it was the informational emails that I would send out. Just really small snippets that focused on one thing and would have a link to a video, the step-by-step instructions attached. I almost felt like it was death by email because I was emailing everyone so much. But I know our faculty, and they don't read long emails. So we kept everything really short to the point, and then, made reference to the online orientation if they needed more information or that they could call us. And surprisingly, the faculty really liked the emails. And I felt like I was bothering everyone, but I wanted to make sure the information got out. And so that was a good response back from them, that no, they didn't feel bothered by it. They, for the most part, seemed to read the emails, and it seemed to be helpful. So that was kind of our surprise.
That's interesting, because I know especially during this time, faculty are definitely getting overloaded with emails, and so you don't want it to get to the point where it's the too long, didn't read, into that category. So, but I think that's interesting. I think at one of our previous events, we've had someone say before that they shared like Friday emails. Courtney Garza, it may have even been you, talking about how she would give tips and tricks and send out emails just to kind of keep faculty engaged, and but they would be short. So
right. And there was a question in the chat asking like what types of information was included in emails. Some of it was how to, and some of it was actually policy information, because for example, how are we going to assess seat time to make sure that we're covering the amount of content that needs to be covered for the coursework that students are that they're missing. And so the VP for academics, and the deans and I all sat down on some big policy issues. And then I funneled that information out to faculty. Like, you need to have this many hours of direct content to make sure we're meeting our Carnegie units. You know, that there were some policy emails in addition to how to.
That's good. I think anything to keep them updated, because I know faculty kind of get into, here is my world, I'm teaching my class, I have these responsibilities, and sometimes it is hard for them to keep up with some of those updates that are happening throughout the term. Let's see, one of the other questions that I had was, and again, anyone that has questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. What would you say were some of your maybe biggest challenges? I know that Tyler had mentioned just kind of taking what they had and putting it on a mass scale, but I've also heard of other people having just technology challenges in doing training and working with faculty. So what would you kind of say were some of your bigger challenges in trying to move working with faculty, be it moving it on a mass scale, the technology issues, anything like that? Anyway, Tiffany, I'll let you go first since you were just talking.
For us, because we're small, our biggest challenge was hours of the day and hands that could help. And so it was very much a team effort. In addition to Julie and I, who are the primary like LMS administrators, work with faculty on that. In our department, we do have 2 online student success advisors who are also very well equipped to help with LMS issues. And so we were pulling them in, kind of doing the buddy system, where once you get a faculty member, they become like yours. And so you make sure that every time Dr. X needs something, that you're the one that they go to, you know. And then if you're up to your eyeballs with someone, then you just pass them off. It was, I think our biggest hurdle was just enough hours in the day, enough people to do all the help. The technology was there, the information was there. Maybe our faculty are just more needy than others. I don't know.
Okay. Tyler, you want to?
Yeah, I would say for technology issues, it was really just, you know, I think it was just probably hopping, you know, we had our Zoom users and our Teams users, but, you know, there were still those ones that teach face-to-face. And so kind of just, you know, internet connectivity, webcams, just kind of basic stuff. That was really the crux of our technology issues. And for us, it was really just trying to be patient, right? That was our big thing we tried to instill in our team, was like, look, we're already in a stressful time. You know, we know that faculty's already going through a lot. Like, you know, there's no point in you getting stressed out or getting frustrated, right? You're just be a coach, help them out. And so that was the big thing. And just being ready to adapt, right? So we tried to push everyone to Teams just because it was easier to connect and schedule, right? But if you've never used Teams, it's going to want you to download the application, right? And that might get a little frustrating. And so being able to quickly pivot, right? So if you have your personal Zoom link ready to go, and so you could tell quickly that you know, sometimes the video camera wouldn't show up, sometimes the audio wouldn't show up, and that's a quickly chatting or an email, because we had their emails as well, and say, hey, you know what, let's hop on our Zoom call real fast, right? And getting them on a Zoom real fast, and that kind of would go further. And then two, like just trying to be aware of like what happened, and then not getting like, you know, there's no way you can prepare for every single question, right? And so we had we kind of had like an unspoken rule that we'd all be available via Teams, right? And so it was really just knowing that, I guess, you're talking to a faculty and helping them out. Like if they ask you a question that you may not know 100%, knowing that you can say, you know what, let me look at that real fast, and Teams one of your teammates and say, hey, look, this is the question, what do you think? And I think that was too something we tried to instill in our team, was like, hey, we're not going to know every single answer, but I promise you our team can find that answer in less than 30 seconds, right? And so that was the kind of, and being open that it's okay to say like, you know what, let me check on that real fast, right? Because, you know, just being transparent, they're like, they know you don't know every single answer, but, you know, they're coming to you because they know you can find that quickly, right? And so I think that was too, just kind of relaying that expectations to our team, that it, you know, that does happen, but it's okay because we know how to get those answers quickly. And sometimes you did it, but you haven't done it for so long, you know, so it's in the back of your brain. It just takes a second to pull it out.
Yeah, that's definitely something for us. I know as you may have encountered it, or you may know, you may at one point in time known X, but it's been a while. And so having that team is definitely helpful to refresh your memory or to be able to confirm something. So, Joe, do you want to talk about challenges?
Yeah, I mean, it's along the same lines, you know, and this is an ongoing challenge anytime we do training in this setting, is there's a really wide gulf between levels of experience for the people that are attending a session. And, you know, you have some people who are really comfortable with technology, for instance, already, and just want to learn, okay, how do I use this conferencing platform? And then you have some people in the same session who say, what's a conferencing platform? And it's always difficult meeting all those needs, though. Similarly, anytime we did sessions, we had at least 2 or 3 of us in the session, and tried to steer all of the questions possible into the chat area, as opposed to people talking and asking questions and bringing everything to a halt. And that really worked well, actually. And there'd be, you know, probably 2 different people trying to answer the questions at the same time, or finding those answers that we didn't know. And that helped things to run pretty smoothly during the sessions that we held. Biggest challenge, and if anyone knows the answer to this, you're a miracle worker. But to me, the biggest challenge was the faculty who didn't bother coming to any of the trainings. We put a lot of effort into creating all of these reference materials and holding all these live training sessions, yet still, you know, a month and a half into the online teaching thing, you'd have some faculty members who were abysmal failures and had never attempted to attend a training. So that is always a challenge, and I don't know what the answer to that one is.
Yeah, that definitely goes back to that motivational piece and finding ways to, I mean, I hate the fact that it took a health pandemic to get faculty to come to more of the trainings, but I think to me that has been one of the bigger benefits to all of this, is all of the training that has been there and the resources that have been there. I think faculty are now, most faculty are now being able to take advantage of. And so sometimes, you know, you may not be able to get everyone, but I think being able to hear about more of those motivational factors will also be helpful. But if anyone has any tips or tricks on how you do that, feel free to throw it in the chat. So
yeah, we can't attract them with free food whenever there's a lockdown. So
Grubhub for everybody. So yeah, we've been joking about that. How do you, all those free lunches you might get in your office if you get them, how to do those. But Yolany, do you want to tell us about your office now?
Yeah, I think one of, or many of the challenges Tiffany, Joe, and Tyler mentioned, you know, are similar to what we have. Our office has 10 GAs, and we're all in the PhD or master's ID program. And so, you know, we kind of staffed virtual hours so that faculty could just kind of jump in if they had a question, right, morning, afternoon. And so we were using Slack like crazy if we were not logged in, and you know, we were all communicating more than we've ever before. And then I think one of the challenges I would say is bringing the human part back to all of this. because I think in the midst of thinking about the class, thinking about how to train, thinking about all of this, we forget the human side of we all have lives, and all of our lives, changed completely for the faculty and for the students. And so, we've always tried to talk to students or faculty if we were working with them on, let's be patient, let's try to work this out, let's try to finish the semester strong, or, as successful as possible. And don't forget that part, many people were moved from their dorms, many people had to go back to their parents' houses, or even the faculty had the dogs and the husbands and wives and children. And so everything just, your work life and your personal life, balancing all of that, it became very difficult. And so I think, to me, that was one of the biggest challenges, bringing that human part back into everything that we have to do, communicate with one another, in our office. I can tell you, we were all on Slack, on email, on text, calling one another, setting up appointments with faculty, figuring out how to do our training. And so it was like everything was piling. So just balancing out, bringing the human aspect, and trying to help our clients the best way possible, to me, were like, that was the biggest challenge that we faced.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think under normal circumstances, we were able to go into the office and we can kind of separate work and home, and then all of a sudden all these worlds are being blended together and pushed together, and I think that has created a lot more stress for everyone, on faculty, staff, anyone involved. And so I think, giving grace and being able to work on it as a team. I mean, you're all working for the same university. You're all doing everything for the benefit of the student, and so I think it's good to keep that in mind. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think it is difficult when you have everything kind of coming together in one spot and you're not able to separate things as much, that it can all seem like it's coming down on top of your head. So. We have just a few minutes left, so I've got one last question, unless someone is going to throw something in the chat. But considering the last few months and what might be coming up in the fall, what do all of you think that training for faculty will look like for you and your institution coming up in the fall term? I know that different institutions are considering different plans on what fall will look like, but what do you guys think you will keep or do differently, or how will it be formatted for you? So, Yolany, I'll let you go first.
So as I mentioned, I think for us, we're going to continue doing all of our, or most of our training online. Right now in the summer, we're hosting a summer institute for 60 faculty. So we're trying to get those 60 faculty very proficient to have, other resources within their departments, that can also help us with some immediate questions or examples, or, what they're learning throughout the summer institute. And then we're continuing to host webinars 2 times a week, sometimes 3 times, depending. We have virtual office hours 3 times a week also, where faculty can just jump in, ask their questions, and go their ways. And we most likely are going to continue with all of those together for the fall.
Okay. All right, Joe, what about your department?
We too are doing a summer faculty institute that would normally be an in-person, face-to-face thing, but it is going to be online. We're, as far as what happens in the fall, I will be really surprised if we, even if the pandemic is over tomorrow and everything's back to normal, I'd be really surprised if we ever go back to just the face-to-face trainings. I think now that we and our faculty have seen some of the benefits of doing online training, I think that's probably going to be here to stay. Just like I think, one of the silver linings of this whole situation is some faculty who've never taught online before are probably going to start teaching online, because now that they've had a reason to learn how to and feel more comfortable with it, I think a lot of good teachers are going to jump into online. Generally, people who just haven't gotten around to it before. One thing we're doing over the summer as well, that's sort of a combination of some of the things that y'all have talked about, is we're going to send out a brief email each Tuesday, I think it's going to be, just highlighting one particular area of focus for the week. Maybe it'll be discussion forums, but it'll just be a brief email that goes out to the faculty saying, hey, think about discussion forums this week, and here are links to the materials, the videos we've already put together. Just so you know, from noon to 1 today, our instructional designers will be in this virtual room doing a drop-by office hours session. If you all have any questions on discussion forums once you've revisited the materials.
Okay. All right. Tyler, do you want to talk about what's going on in UAB in the fall?
Yeah, I can do that. And so for us, so at UAB, they did announce that instruction will be delivered like in a hybrid format. So, the team that's planning that, their goal is they're going to take our existing workshops and, they're going to modify those, right, to have that hybrid format. But they're also going to look at, how we can identify certain technologies that are going to support that hybrid format. And so the goal is to kind of identify those and see how we can, add more training topics, that can help with that, but also to, what pedagogical practices are going to help out with this hybrid format, right? And so, kind of look at both of those, and maybe even adopt some more workshops to kind of meet that, right? The goal is, and kind of looking at how can we use those technologies to meet the needs of learners in this hybrid courses? So really kind of taking what we already have, but then, looking at it and see how can we kind of adjust that a little bit to our what will be our fall.
Okay. All right. Tiffany?
We're going to kind of shift our training a little bit this fall. Our focus on training a lot in the past has been, this is how we post a video, this is how we create a test. And we're going to shift that a little bit and talk more about, this is why we create rubrics, this is why we post weekly announcements, and kind of go more on the quality matters route and what it means to create a quality course. Now that just about everyone has the nuts and bolts of how you do it, now we're going to talk about why it needs to be done a certain way, and how the end product is a better quality.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, I know we have hit our time, so I want to thank our panelists one more time for joining us and sharing about their training experience during COVID. So, and thank you all of our participants for joining us. Just a reminder that you can connect with us on social media, definitely on Facebook, or if you have any questions about AIDN, then feel free to email us or reach out. So thank you all for joining us. We have had a wonderful time during this summer series and being able to learn so much from everyone. So thank you again, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the summer.